of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Always wait for that last little shoe to drop. I'd like to thank Cheryl Thompson Draper for serving as committee secretary again today. That was the idea. As you know, we have all been diligently, and if maybe we could, Tony, you've got a nice little blank pad there. Do you mind if we pass around a sign-in sheet for all of the committee members so that Cheryl won't have to do it? So we have some guests here today. Thank y'all for coming and seeing what we're all about here. As you know, the party organization committee is tasked with organizing our party. And we've been diligently working on the party precinct chair handbook and the SREC handbook, which someone told me that the SREC handbook had not been updated since 2008. So we blew the dust off of it. Thank you, Cheryl, who provided a copy of it, and we've been working on that. And so we have been sent. Is there anyone who has not been sent the working copy of the precinct chair handbook? Who is on the committee? And put this down while Cheryl gets her notes ready. You ready? Okay. Did you want to call roll, or do you? James, this is not going to, it's going to go.
Yeah,
like this. Okay, it's all right. I'll just multitask. Moms do that, y'all know. Yes, please. Cheryl? Here.
Here.
Rick Brooks. Fisher Crow. Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum? Madam Secretary has declared that we have a quorum and are ready to do business, so we appreciate y'all being here. I'm going to send a copy. This is going to be kind of difficult, of the SREC handbook. We have sent have you gotten a copy of the oh, that's right. You're just a willing prayer. Thank you. Appreciate it. I had forgotten that you weren't. Adolfo, Chuck, have you gotten a copy of the precinct chair handbook? I'm gonna send all of them. If y'all would, you have the 2020. Well, that was our working copy. So we have not got a paper copy of the precinct chair handbook yet. So, and we've sent it to Hannah Weeks for tweaking. We've got a little bit, the Word doc has to be adjusted just a little bit, so. I have sent a final draft of the precinct chair handbook to all the committee members. I just finished the SREC handbook last night about 11 o'clock, so I have not yet sent that to y'all. So I'm about to do that. For those who have received the precinct chair handbook, have y'all looked at it to make any final suggestions? Hearing none. Other than the normal little typos, I think we pretty much went over it with a fine tooth comb. So I'll go ahead and send that to you, and possibly that our committee members might have any thought processes. Cheryl, did you want to give a kind of an update on your new post as the liaison for the TRCCA? Do you want to come up and chat with us while I get this? Oh, we'd like to have the guests sign in if they just, if y'all don't want. If I have to talk into this microphone, you have to talk into this microphone.
Cheryl Thompson Draper. I am the Lavaca County Chairman, then elected SD 18 SREC, that's why I'm here. And then this summer at the TRCCA, Texas Republican County Chairs Association Convention, I was elected as the SREC liaison, which is a board position, actually is an executive committee board position for TRCCA. So I have 3 non-paid full-time jobs. And she's still typing up here.
You're the secretary of the TRCCA too, aren't you?
Nope, I'm not secretary. Nope. That's William Orr's job, not mine. My job is to be here.
Cheryl is tasked with being internet connected, overcoming. I can't imagine not being able to connect to the internet, but Cheryl actually offered to drive 30 miles into town to attend one of our meetings. And I thought, that's way above and beyond the call of duty. So I said, please don't do that. So I've been talking to several of our SREC members in other counties. I've been chatting with Robin, and I've talked about the challenges of working in a very blue county, as I do in Dallas. And Robin is helping our data processor up in Dallas County, who is very willing to help all of the SRECs reach their counties and run some data. Start text messaging on the data that we do have. A lot of our counties are financially challenged, as Adolfo can attest, Mr. Chairman. And Adolfo is a newly elected county chairman in El Paso County. So Robin sent us their data, their download of their 400,000 voters in El Paso County. So our data processor is going to run the queries based on the turnouts for municipal elections to see if we can get the turnouts for municipals. Our turnout for local elections is so poor that if we don't start reaching these are not voters that are easily found on our GOP data center, which is but all of in Dallas County, when we download our voter lists, we can determine that they voted in municipal elections, and we can target them. Whereas through GOP Data Center, which is a very huge tool that all of our precinct chairs use, a lot of our precinct chairs are not even aware that they have this tool to use. I know I had to seek it out when I became a precinct chair. I was not informed of it, so I swore that if I ever had the opportunity to make sure that all precinct chairs were trained in it and ready to use it. And a lot of our older, longer term serving precinct chairs are not as tech savvy on a computer. So we actually, in Dallas County, we train them at the office to come in and show them how to utilize this data for their benefit to get out the vote in their own precinct. So, yes, sir.
Is that going to be, the information about the access to that, is that going to be in this new precinct chair?
Well, actually, it was in there, the fact that we can utilize it. Robin and I have put step-by-step instructions for running a walk list in your own precinct. It's completely foolproof and fail-proof. You can get in there and actually print out a copy, or you can turn it into an Excel file or a PDF or CSV, which you can upload to countless other databases, depending on your level of familiarity with Excel. It's a starting point, and we have some precinct chairs who have been doing this a long time. All they've ever had was boots on the ground, house to house, bang on the door. You were not sure if you were actually speaking to a Democrat or a communist. I call them. Can I say that live? I call them the dark side, actually. Yes, ma'am. The name of the program is GOP Data Center. And if you are a precinct chair, you are able to access this database. So if you don't have credentials, the fastest way to get those credentials is to step up and become a precinct chair, which is short of throwing a ball and chain around everybody's ankle that walks into our office. I ask if they are willing to be a precinct chair, and some of their skill sets are better suited in other places, but that's where I always start. So we try to encourage them by actually showing them how the training will help them do their job. We're all busy with our day job. Most of us have full-time jobs. Those who don't have more time than others, but we have gathered data. Most of it is on the GOP data center. We got to use what we've got. And I understand that a lot of the cell phone numbers have been updated in the GOP data center in order to make sure that they're correct. You can text from your phone. We have also a new section in the precinct chair manual called GOTV texting. We had, remember phone banking? Well, now it's GOT phoning and GOTV texting. And if you don't know how to text message, we train on text messaging. All you have to do is start with a set of numbers, cell phone numbers, and a name. And you can talk into your phone and text one person, and then you can cut and paste that into the next phone number, and you can do that all day long for free. Counties that don't have budgets for funding text messaging, it'll either be and always offer them the option to say, if you don't want to receive any more of these text messages, just tell me to stop and you'll never hear from me again. But we've got to, this is how Miami-Dade County flipped that very blue county in Florida in one election, was to text message everybody as they left the polls. They were taken off the list. Thank you for voting. And if we had their phone numbers, thank you for voting, and go on to the next person and says, you still have 3 days to vote. Please, it takes so little time to vote now. And there's so many voting centers that you can vote through. And they actually made a big difference in texting. You can get a whole room. Remember how we used to get a whole room full of people to phone bank? Now it's you can do it out of the comfort in your jammies watching TV, and it's so little effort involved in that. And we've gone to great extents to update our precinct chair handbook to empower them to know all the different ways that you can reach your precinct. So we need all of these boots on the ground. This is our grassroots army, and we are tasked with re-educating a lot of very participating voters who just don't feel like their vote counts anymore. I've just seen so many city council races that have been a mayor, a 23-year-old woke young man was voted in as mayor by one vote up in North Dallas County in Rowlett. And so we're going to text message him out of office in 2025. So we I mean, it's just a huge task, but the many make less work for everyone. But we've really got to get our people back to the thought that voting is your greatest gift we have is exercising our right to vote. And I know a lot of us are very angry about the 2020 election, and some are very angry about the 2022 election. The hand counting paper ballots is a great way to right this wrong, but you really have to, rather than mandating it across the board and then figuring out how to do it, you've really got to have a plan in place and implement it very carefully. We're still waiting on a ruling from the Secretary of State as to how we can make that happen in Dallas County. We're always open to improving our elections there, especially in the primary. This is the one that we have the most control over. So anyway, next Saturday, this coming Saturday, is the Secretary of State's training for our county chairs. Are any of us going to that? Friday is the Secretary of State, and Saturday is the RPT. So I'm looking forward to attending as well. So Howard, would you like to come give us an update on your high school recruiting efforts? No. I love your enthusiasm for spreading the message. These kids are going to fix all of these things, right?
Well, if you're not aware of this program, I'll give you a little background. It sort of started at the first meeting of the SREC in this session in the engagement committee. We realized that there was no formal approach to recruit and address the issues of high school students. There's lots of organizations for young people around, the YRs and so forth, and each county may have a different one. But in the past, we've had high school Republicans of Texas, and they sort of declined and almost disappeared. There was a Teenage Republicans of Texas. They had their own federation. And of course, people know about Charlie Kirk and Turning Point. And as far as I knew at that time, Charlie Kirk's Turning Point only addressed issues on college campuses. And anyway, I pointed out in the engagement committee that we weren't addressing that demographic. And of course, when you do that in a committee setting, and you have an idea, then you become in charge. So I was appointed, the leader of the pack on that. So anyway, so I started doing a little research, and I found, that I contacted the TPUSA people, and I was surprised to learn that they already had about 50 high school clubs in Texas. I was pretty shocked, and even more shocked to find out that there were about a dozen in the Houston area that I had no idea existed. So we reached out, we made contact to the representatives of TPUSA across the state. There's one in North Texas, there's one in South Texas, and there's one that serves West Texas, who operates out of Phoenix, which is basically the base for Charlie Kirk, I think, and his folks. And we worked with them, made initial contacts, and told them that we would be happy to help coordinate with our network. Of course, we have a formal network of precinct chairs, and we also have access to the GOP database, which I think is a useful tool for recruiting families with high school age kids. And I've suggested, and I've offered that service to all of the TPUSA people. Of course, we've invited TPUSA people across Harris County to participate and speak to our affiliate groups, pachyderms and TFRW, and virtually any speaking engagements that we have. And they've been very good about presenting their program. High School Republicans of Texas started a chapter in Dallas, right? And Susan sponsored an introductory lunch. I attended that. The president of TFRW, I have a personal relationship. We attended that meeting, and I'm not up to date on exactly how many members they might have. We've tried to recruit people in all of the major metropolitan areas to sort of spearhead this effort, and that hasn't gone that well so far. So I've sort of pulled back, and we have a major effort in Harris County in the Cy-Fair School District. We've reached out to precinct chairs across the Cy-Fair School District since we've got this election, and a lot of door knocking going on, to try to identify children, students that might be interested in participating in a conservative student club on high school campuses. The TPUSA program, all you have to do is have 3 willing students and a sponsor, and then you can start a club. It's pretty easy. There's no expense. The local directors, the regional directors are very supportive. In addition to just recruiting these kids, we're trying to encourage the clubs that do, the people that do form these clubs, to start including the students in the Republican Party activities. And whether there's a club or not, I think that's a pretty good idea. And what we did, I guess it was back in March, when we had the Lincoln Reagan dinner in Houston, we reached out to some local donors, the C Club, and got them to sponsor a table, and we invited 10 of the TPUSA students across the Houston area to attend, and it was a night to remember, really. I mean, we had Ron DeSantis, which we had 1,400 people, and most of these kids came from Montgomery County or North Harris County, and Morgan Luttrell was their congressman, and he was there in all his splendor and glory. And these kids had their pictures taken with him. And so it's just not only recruiting young people and training young people and giving them a safe place on campus, a group of peer support, but and I guess selfishly, we could look at them as resources for us to help in elections. But before we put the bite on them for that, let's give them something first. And so I mean, I've suggested that it would be a great thing to invite them to a city council meeting, you know, or a county commissioners court meeting. Most people that vote every time don't know who those people are anyway. And so I think getting them involved in those meetings and exposed to the process. I mean, they can take trips to Austin in the summertime. Not a lot going on, but they can take the tours, that sort of thing. I just encourage including young people in our events. We have a lot of TFRW and pachyderm meetings across the state. You know, a lot of them are at night. Lunch probably is not a good time to invite them, but we have a lot of weekend events this time of year, getting ready for the November election. There's block walking opportunities, phone calling opportunities, and that sort of thing. So that's all part of our plan, but I can't say it's been a successful prototype yet. And I'm still trying to develop exactly what the script would be when you go knock on the door, when you go talk to the school, when you go talk to the students, when you talk to parents, organizations, and so forth. I haven't had a lot of successful response, so I'm still trying to get comfortable with the script, and once I'm satisfied with that, I'll be twisting a few more arms. You know, I've passed out requests for people that want to volunteer and participate in their own in their own locations, and certainly to the extent that there's any SREC members who want to participate in Dallas. Susan is already bought in El Paso. We've talked to Robin, and we've got members of the engagement committee who have reached out to a few high schools. The most recent developments, TPUSA not only has their college level, they not only have their high school level. By the way, that program, their high school program, has grown to about 100 high schools across Texas just in the last 3 to 6 months. But they also have something called TPUSA Faith. Now, we all go to church, right? Churches all have young people programs, Sunday school, and all that sort of thing. So Charlie Kirk will start a TPUSA program at your church. So we reached out to a pastor in the Houston area, down around the Hobby Airport area, if you know that area. It's highly Hispanic, and he is a Hispanic member of what we call our advisory board in Harris County. It's sort of like a small SREC for the county. You know. And so we invited Richard Vega to participate, and he's been to about half a dozen of our meetings, and he has bought into the TPUSA Faith, and just had a conversation with him on Monday. He's having organizational meetings at his church for young people, and his idea is to build up that TPUSA Faith and then take those faithful students and get them to go out to their high schools and start their high school programs. So, you know, the big question is, where's our market? How do we recruit these students, and how do we advertise this? And there are a lot of things. I mean, there are a lot of local organizations that you may have that might be interested, but you know, the Fellowship of Christian Athletes is probably a good one. 4-H and FFA are probably fertile ground. Used to think that ROTC would work, Colonel, but you know what? I hear they've been infiltrated by the left. Well, we suggested, you know, maybe ROTC program would be great, and one of our people that was considering is reaching out for us at one of the high schools. He ran into a meeting of ROTC commandants, or whatever they call them, for each high school, and they were meeting at this particular high school. They were all Democrats, and they were all talking about woke issues. I'm very concerned about that, and I don't know how to. I think the only way to turn it around is to get a new president who, brings Christian principles and conservative principles to the military, and we quit worrying about whether they can have a transgender operation and, figure out how to make the other poor guy die instead of us. So, but anyway, we've had some expressions of interest over in the Beaumont area. Some Austin County says that they want to start a couple of schools. Waller High School says it wants to start a club in their school. So there's some positive news, but it's just not the, full-fledged jump in with both feet that I was hoping for. So it's going to be a little longer project. I was hoping that by this summer we would have 200 TPUSA clubs, and then they could really participate in the November 24 election. Not sure that's going to happen, but I failed to mention El Paso. When I first touched base with El Paso, I was shocked, Robin, to find out that they had one club with 300 members, 300 high school members. Amazed. And now they've had, and then they said, and we've got a second club now. But that club split. You got the east and the west. Is that how it works? Yeah. You got the east and the west side now. And I don't know. And I encourage them to reach out and set up some, set up with, and I think they sort of meet all the high school kids together on the east and the west, and just encourage them, to start. And I mean, you've got Radford and Sleda and, all the public schools and all that are fertile ground in El Paso. But I was surprised. I mean, El Paso, probably the one city in Texas that has more student members than anywhere else. The biggest club in the Houston area is a private school. They've got 75 members. So there's some encouraging signs out there, and I think there are conservative students. I think the message is getting out there slowly, but my objective is just to really convince kids that it's not a bad thing to be conservative. Conservatism and Republicans shouldn't be a bad word. You should be able to talk openly on campus, but there's an element to social suicide you got to consider too. So, all right, that's about it. Yes, John. Absolutely. 713-703-3703. Okay. Anybody else?
Thank you, Howard. Our communications director, James, has some breaking news he wants to share with you.
Y'all are going to love this. I was just sent, and it was just published at here at 10 o'clock, an opinion in the Wall Street Journal that's entitled, "American Cities Need More Republicans, and I'm Becoming One." And it was written by Eric Johnson, the mayor of Dallas. He details all of the things that he's done in this article. I've just kind of skimmed over it, and says that he's going to be switching parties to a Republican. So, figured that was, he didn't talk to any of us. I just showed it to Rinaldi, and he was just as floored. So we are thrilled that he is joining the party. As I'm sure Susan can tell you, he has worked hard recently to lower property taxes and unfortunately lost that fight on the city council. He fully funded the Dallas police and made them more effective. I think one of the first things he did when he came in office was actually get rid of taxpayer-funded lobbyists, too. I can't confirm that, but someone mentioned that to me. So I figured that was worth interrupting. I don't know what took him so long, but we are glad that he is joining us. More to come, but just wanted to clue you all in. It is in the Wall Street Journal.
That is amazing.
Wall Street Journal opinion.
Eric Johnson is our former state rep in District 100, which is in South Dallas and very, very, very blue area. So we welcome him into the fold of sane and rational people. And whatever it takes to convince the African American community one at a time just exactly what it means to be a Republican and how they have been used and abused over a long period of time. The Walkaway program is actually alive and well in Dallas County, and we actually, our party was full force in support of 3 African-American women who are on the southern Dallas area, who 2 of them were Democrats, but they're very conservative. They're so much more conservative than the liberal dark side person who actually serves on the city council in Dallas County. So sometimes we can't always get what we want in the way of conservatives, Republicans to run in a very heavily blue area. So sorry, you like that song? No dance. But sometimes we have to support a much more conservative Democrat in that regard in order to sway the district a little at a time. You can't go 180 degrees in one election. I'm firmly aware of. I'm sure those of you who have very blue counties and cities understand that concept. So if you can tweak it a little bit at a time and show them that Democrats, I believe, took over my county over about a 10 to 12 year term, which it's not a one election. So if when Republicans win, they say, okay, we don't have to do anything for 2 years, and they go back to their jobs and their families and the important things in life and put politics aside and that's really good news, James. I'm glad you shared that. All you guys that are watching from Dallas, the beach is lovely down here. Maybe we might get to wave hello and goodbye to it on the way in and out, but we're not going to spend any time on the sand. We're down here working for the whole state. So, and proudly do that to represent all of y'all. So it's very, very telling how the hours that this committee has put toward getting the precinct chair handbook and the SREC handbook updated. It's not just, we've spent hours and hours. We deferred to the Legislative Priorities Committee to get the focus on that. That was much more important at the time. So as soon as Sine Die was delivered on May the 29th, I think it was, or 30th, we started working on these handbooks. And it's been a long process, but we think we've done a very thorough count. So if you find that undotted I or uncrossed T, zip it. We don't want to hear about it because, you're going to miss the more sets of eyes that we have looking at this. Sometimes you just miss these micro things, but we're happy to correct anything that if you want to call it to our attention. We always can use a set of eyes, right, Tony? So, Tony and it's Robin, they live in such blue areas down near the border, and that is such a critical area for us to turn our attention on. So our party organization committee is committed to helping get data to all of those challenged areas. So any reach out to us and let us know. We're happy to help. We've been trying to download the voter rolls in a lot of the larger counties, and it's very telling what we've found in some queries. In Dallas County, we've found between 25 and 40,000 voters who have been registered as far back as 1976. And then all of a sudden, they've never voted. All of a sudden, guess when they decided to vote? November of 2020. Isn't that a coincidence? So now we are trying to do the same thing in some of the counties, and we need help in reaching all of these voters. We need to verify these. Maybe, I hope there's no Democrats listening to this. But we need help finding if these voters actually voted or if somebody helped them vote. And if they even live in the counties. We want to find out where these people are, and just by not removing them from our voter databases opens up a whole new bag of mail-in voter fraud, and we need to know where these mail-in ballots are going. Yes, ma'am. Well, we've just received it. She asked if these have been reported to the elections departments. We have a very receptive elections administrator in Dallas County. Finally, after 15 years or 12 years, we have one who will actually remove somebody off of the voter rolls if you present them with enough. My own daughter-in-law lives in Colorado and has for 15 years, and her name is still on the voter rolls in Dallas County. But I looked at her up because she votes Democrat, unfortunately, but she has never voted in Dallas County. So that's a good thing. I think she understands the concept. The data, everyone has the capacity to download their own county voter rolls. It costs me $20 in Dallas County. We have 1.4 million voters. It's too big to email back and forth, but it shows for $20 I get their voter registration number, their name, their address, their every voting district in which they live, and every voting election that they have voted in. So it's very easy to run queries on this information if we have it. It costs $20 for me to download that large of a file. It's through File Transfer Protocol. If y'all can buy it, and because it's easier for y'all to get it because y'all live in that district than it is for me to. I was able to download Collin counties, but they've got their own method of reaching theirs also. They're pretty savvy with the technology also. And they actually subscribe to Campaign Sidekick. Yes, ma'am. You go to the elections administrator, Smith County Elections Department. You just Google it. And there should be a menu item that says Public Information Request, PIR, could be called FOIA. I had to set up an account, and actually you have to ask them, be very specific about what you want, because they will only give you the minimum that you ask for. I asked in Dallas County, I wanted the whole shimoli. So I asked they will only provide 40 elections history. And so I asked them for all elections from 2023 back as far as 40 elections. It went back to 2000, actually, by the time they got through with it. So I was able to see a whole list and sort it by the date they registered. That was where I was most interested in finding, because they're called inactive voters. If you haven't voted since 1976, you're an inactive voter. And unfortunately, a lot of the county elections departments are run by the dark side. And so they know exactly who you would never know that this person hadn't voted for 20 years, and then all of a sudden he voted, and it kind of just goes into you would never target that realm. I stumbled on it, actually, looking at a very small precinct. I just was curious. There were only 50 people in there that I could see. And I just looked at them, and every one of them in GOP Data Center, that's where I started, since 2012, they had only voted in November of 2020. So then I thought, well, I wonder how, that only goes back 10 years. I wonder how far back that they haven't voted. And whoa, when I got that history back to 2000 and scrambled them according to their registration date, it just, bam, it just hit me that who would have ever thought to look this up? So it's just working with the data that can really, this is why I don't go home till 8, 9 o'clock sometimes, but you just get into it, and you just keep digging and digging, and so we've got to use whatever resources that we can to dig these people out. So if you're willing to send us your voter registration download from your county, it's probably a very nominal cost. If you want to send it to me up at srec.sd16@protonmail.com, I can certainly let our geek, he serves for the cause, and he's very willing to run the query on your county election, and we can send you the data, and then you can go for it. srec.sd16@protonmail.com. I highly recommend Proton Mail. I don't get a lot of spam at all. So it's very secure. So we've got to use whatever method. Yes, Robin.
So the election code says that the 10th of every month, that every elections department is supposed to update or clean out their voter roll. The 10th of every month.
Who says that?
It says in the elections code.
Oh, okay.
And so
She says that the Texas election code requires that on the 10th of every month that each elections administrator is required to update their database and take off any, then why do we have voters on there from 1976? Because, well, what if he had gone to vote in November of 2020 and he wasn't on there anymore? That disenfranchises him from voting, and that's exactly why they don't remove. They think that they have the right to keep anybody from being disenfranchised. So I actually looked up this one voter from 1976 on the Dallas County Appraisal District. That's another great database. Actually, the guy still owns the house. But I'd like to know who voted for him, or he could be in a senior center or in the hospital, or he could have just not ever, his children could be living in the house now. I don't know. There's probably a host of different reasons why they're still on there. They could still be living in the house, but I'd like to go bang on their door and meet the guy and ask if he actually, what made him come out of the closet and vote all of a sudden after 20 years of being completely inactive. So yes, ma'am. The next day after the elections department. Now that's highly suspect, because that way they have built up. I understand that I've been to several ghost voting seminars or whatever, and I understand that they have this huge voter registration drive, and they build up the numbers so that they can slide some other voters in underneath them, and then I don't know why they remove them. But, or they replace some voters with, who didn't vote with an actual voter who did. I'm not sure how that works. But if we have a list of these voters who are on the database from back that far, it's up to us to go bang on their door and see. They could have moved out of Dallas County 20 years ago. And this enables somebody to go in there and vote for them, because the elections administrators know which are inactive voters and which are not. So the district attorney's office in Dallas County is now very well aware that I'm downloading these every month, and they know I'm looking for something. They don't know what it is yet, but just the fact knowing that we're watching them sometimes can be somewhat of a deterrent, because in fact, the last query I asked them for the download was August 28th, and it took them 2 weeks to send me a letter of notice of how much it would cost to download it. So they're slow walking me. What's today, the 22nd? I have yet to be given the download file. So they are, I think they're slow walking it purposefully. So what? They do pretty much whatever they want to, right? Right? So, yeah, Robin.
So the 10th, when the SOS is supposed to provide the counties with the cleaned up voter, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So is there any way, and I've not done it, I don't know if anybody else has done it, but is there any way to get a copy of what the SOS sends to the elections department to verify, or not, or can we ask for it, or? I guess my problem is that if all the elections departments are receiving this by the 10th of every month from SOS and they're not doing anything with it, how do we keep them accountable to do it?
Good question. I haven't,
You have to have a cooperative.
yeah. Cooperative DA.
Because when I did bring this up about 6 months ago, ironically, so El Paso, just to give an example, we had had to sign a petition to get to be able to vote on UMC to get a bond issued. And so they were just going to approve it, but we protested and said we wanted to it to go to the voters to vote on it. And
Right.
so we had to do a petition drive. For a petition drive, you have to have a certain percentage of signatures in order to get it on the ballot. So, however, the voter rolls hadn't been cleaned up. So the percentage that we had to get was extremely high, number of percentage of voters, right, to get signatures. Well, shortly after that petition drive, they cleaned up the voter roll for the next petition drive, which the left wanted to have done. And it reduced the number of signatures that they needed to get.
Funny how that works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying, is there any way for us to get those things on a rate? We just made it consistent. Is there a way for us to do that legally, or?
Well, this is the reason we have this conversation in the party organization committee, because it's we have the capacity to get the word out to raise the awareness of what we're tasked with. I mean, this is a huge state. How many? We've got 13 million registered voters in, I think. I am blessed to have a very cooperative county chairman in Dallas County that I work with every day. And I really do appreciate those of you who don't always have cooperative county chairs in your own areas. So how many counties are you SD for, John? 11?
Can't remember. But let me tell you this, in McLennan County, we created an elections committee,
Uh-huh.
and the lady that headed that,
Oh,
we have a cooperative district attorney that went to the new elections administrator who had been in that office for a while.
mm-hmm.
And we got that cleaned up and got a bunch of people.
Right.
I'm very proud of her.
Oh, good. Well, it's going to take just bugging them. Yeah, Gail. Oh, Harris County. I'm so sorry. Oh, in Harris County, the elections administrator has said that it's not her job to clean up the voter rolls. I'm sorry, I'm just repeating your question for those so that they can hear.
We have now gone through a period of having an elections administrator to take over that. It is now, by state law, been turned back as of September 1st, and she is still in office.
Yeah,
Last summer, because of all of what happened in the 2022 election, they reviewed, the Harris County Public Authority reviewed 100,000 voter names, okay, to see about, do they live in a legitimate address? And we confirmed that they are legitimate. Are they voting from a post office box? All those things. And so we're doing our best to clean up our own voter roll.
good, good.
Very,
Harris County is very challenged. What a mess y'all have down there. I'm so sorry to hear. We would love to help Harris County with your list of voter registrar, voter registration data. If you want to download it, Gail, you probably have the keys to the car. You know how to download that stuff probably better than anybody. It's harder for us to do it from, yeah. We sure need him back as Harris County Clerk. We certainly miss him, Gail. So tell him thank you for the difference that he did make at the time. Mr. Stanart was just a godsend in Harris County. So,
taking over a great deal.
right, Alan. Yeah, thank you. Not to change the subject, but to move on to some other business. I think I've sent all of y'all the current working copy of the SREC manual. And we have a quorum here, and we want to take advantage of that in order to, I'd like a motion to approve all of the updates and changes to the SREC manual at this time. Adolfo moved, Howard seconded it. Subject to, we have to tweak, subject to little general housekeeping tweaks and everything. Is that okay? All in favor? All right, thank you very much. And we'll get that final copy updated. Pardon me? Oh, any opposed? Thank you, Colonel. Hearing none, it's approved. Keeping me in line there. And so moving on to the precinct chair handbook, I would like a motion in the manner of the same verbiage to approve all of the changes that we have made to date, with the caveat that any small housekeeping page repagination, I think is the proper term. I'm not 100% skilled with Word, so, but you can dock my paycheck anytime. But Hannah said she would help me with that. So I'd like a motion to approve the precinct chair handbook in the same manner. All in favor? Oh, I need a motion, sorry. Tony? Oh, I don't know why I want to always call Tony Tennille instead of Tony Trevino. I don't know, I'm just hearing the captain and I all the time, the captain and Tennille. Is there a second? Second from Mary Jane Avery. All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is adopted, and we have two brand-new handbooks for all of our members to use. Thank all of y'all who were so instrumental in helping to get us that done. It was not a small task. You know, when we started this, I thought, oh, it'll just take us a couple of 3 weeks, couple of 3 meetings. No, 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 no. We added so many resources, and Tony checked all of the citations, made sure all of that documentation is correct, and she's just amazing, amazing. So I would have overdosed on it probably already by this time. So anyway, we have got to focus. This party has got to focus on reaching everybody that we can. This upcoming election scares the bejabbers out of me. If we don't reach every person that we can, I don't care if it's 10 minutes a day that they've got, or an hour a week, or whatever. We have got to get so many more people engaged, and this state is very challenged. And if the thought of Colin Allred for state senator, he's in my district. I have the honor of voting against him every time he comes up for reelection. And so he is challenging. At least it's not Beto, right? But he's going to give anybody a run for his money. He's well-funded. He's collecting a lot of money from out of state. And we have to keep Senator Cruz in the Senate. And the Paxton trial sent so many people over the edge. So there's so many people who will be challenged in a primary because of the anger just in that. So I just am, be careful if you are a part of a primary process, be careful. You have to make sure that even if you can win at the primary level, you've got to make darn sure you can take that seat in November, because the Democrats are champing at the bit to take over the House majority, and they are pretty close. So we have to prevail in November as well as in the primary. So, and we feel that the election workers are such a part of election integrity. In Dallas County, we work like dogs, and we put a Republican in voting centers that they hadn't seen a Republican. They go, "Who are you? What are you doing here? There's no Republicans in this district." And we said, "We're here to stay." And they try to run us out of there, and we have to stand strong, because if there's no Republican presence in every single voting center in every county, they have no problems with voting. They know they can pull up inactive voters on that e-poll book very easily, and they can, when there's nobody watching the hen house, the fox is going to be there, right? So that Republican presence in every voting center actually keeps a lot of malfeasance. And please, if you know any election workers, help us recruit some more. We always need a new, people say, "I don't want to be a judge. I don't want to be an alternate judge. I just want to be a dweeb clerk." I shouldn't say that. Clerks are so absolutely very helpful, but we need to teach them how to elevate their status so that we can bring in a whole new group of clerks to help run all of our elections. And these people, we need more and more. We're always recruiting them because the Democrats are, what they do is, our Democrat County Commissioners Court decided that instead of having 47 early voting centers, now we have to staff 64. early voting judges are much more difficult to vet and to qualify. It's a different process. So it's not like just showing up on election day. So they throw everything at us, and we keep dodging and weaving and pivoting, and so do they. So, but if we've got an election worker, a Republican in every center, that cuts down on a whole lot of it. So hopefully y'all can encourage your work behind the scenes to get that done. How do you work that in El Paso County, Robin?
Gentlemen, over the last 10 years, we went from hardly having any Republicans working in elections to now we dominate the election workers. Now the elections department calls us to fill places because the Democrats can't get people to vote.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the way to
Good job.
You have to just be dependable. And then the good election department head, administrator, thank you. Then they depend on you.
Yeah.
And if they are decent, they appreciate it and do that stuff. And the key, what I have found in working the elections is that, obviously it's overwhelming because you don't do it that often, right? You do it once, twice, 3 times a year working the election. So for those new people, because I'm going to I always bring in a new clerk to try and train them so they can kind of take over my position. They can go someplace else. So the key is to get involved with the training with the elections department so that they will so they do the book properly, like we do for a primary precinct convention. We write it out word for word, just basically read it, is to get that elections department book to be the same. And so that person, I said, you know what, you can walk here knowing nothing, read through this, and you can run the election and close the election, and without the fear and the anxiety of it, because the Democrats try to make it hard every single time.
Oh, they do.
I mean, I don't know what
They do. Everything we do,
It's
they
like this big
pivot on a dime. They do. Yes, Mary Jane.
One way to encourage our clerks to have more confidence is that we're starting to cross-train our election clerks to be judges.
Oh, that's what
Because
we're
last
doing.
election, we had 5 judges on election day. And you cannot be a judge unless you've done the training.
Yeah.
And so we're stopping that, and we're gonna have everybody cross-train, so they may not have to do it right away, but as they go, take those training courses to be a judge, they say, well, it's not so much different. I think I can do it.
Yeah, we've trained 85 election workers in our offices the last 3 Saturdays in Dallas County, and we started that last year, and very successful in increasing our base. And we lost 40 presiding judgeships because the gubernatorial election is what designates you. If you don't think that, for all of y'all listening at home, if y'all don't think that elections don't have consequences, every precinct in which Beto won in your local precinct is now staffed by a Democrat presiding judge. And we lost 40 of them in Dallas. And we only have 80 out of 464 voting centers now with Republican presiding judges. And so that is why it's imperative that the governor come and campaign in Dallas County so that but it trickles down and is extremely, so if we don't have presiding judges, those are our on-the-job training locations for presiding judges to take on brand new newbies who are being clerks for the first time, and actually giving them a secure place to work where a lot of them feel comfortable working with a Republican. And we have actually, we borrowed the judge's manual in Dallas County because they refused to allow the alternate judges to have a copy of the judge's handbook. So we have gone to the bank, no, I'm just kidding, borrowed a small fortune to print out these judges, and there's not one of them that's left behind in our classes. They actually can see a step-by-step written document that they can study ahead of time of what to look for when they've got a Democrat presiding judge that may or may not allow them a whole lot of access to the documents in the judge's box or whatever. There's always a manual that they have to turn back in. So girls got to do what a girl's got to do. And so we just borrowed one of our judges and copied it. And it's very helpful for these brand new people to feel more comfortable walking into a situation. And please tell all of your people not to leave when the judge says, okay, it's 7:00, y'all can go home now. Please don't leave your post until the presiding judge leaves. And please get there at whatever time they get there. God help me, at 6 a.m. in the morning, I'm mostly incoherent, but yeah, I'm there at 6 o'clock. Well, she asked if we can share that manual. It's generally given to precinct chairs, but a lot of this information is attained by being involved in your party. You don't have to be a precinct chair to be involved in your party, to become an election judge. It's word of mouth. This is why I rattle on like I do, because there's so much. I'm constantly learning every day of the ways that the dark side does to go around everything that we do. Thanks, James. See you back in a few. Yes, I'm sorry, Adolfo.
For a long time. But I rotate everybody.
Rotating your election workers is an excellent idea. It's not, and that's why we started training, because we had too many Indians and not enough chiefs. We just said, we had so many people who just were very comfortable. They didn't want the perceived responsibilities. An alternate judge is almost a clerk. They certainly make the same amount of money. And
but in the past, we would ask for a copy of the book.
well, he says his elections administrator is very willing to share their handbook with the Republican Party. That's amazing. Yes. Yes, yes. When our county commissioner was trying to get our election administrator fired because he actually communicated with the Republican Party in Dallas County for the first time ever, he called his election workers and said, don't show up, and it'll make our elections administrator look incompetent. So I gave him our entire election judges database. I said, you fill every one of those empty spots. We're here to help you. And so when he figured out that when he did that, we had an army ready to fill all of those Democrat spots with Republicans, he had a change of heart and decided not to do that anymore. Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Some of them just want to work. They'll work for either party. They don't care. But we have to vet them. We look up their voting records. And we had a woman who was the presiding judge, and her husband was the alternate judge. And oh, she was so mad when I looked up his voting record. And he was a liberal. He voted blue every primary. And so he said, oh, I'm a Republican. I said, oh, I don't know whose patootie you think you're blowing smoke up, but I'm looking at your voting record and you're not a Republican. And we have already assigned our alternate judge in. So he was livid over that. So his wife got angry, and so she resigned. She walked out. She says, I quit. So we elevated that alternate judge into being the presiding judge. And when she found out that she wasn't running that little shenanigan in that voting center, she came back and reclaimed her judgeship. So as long as we've got the force with, we need to let them know that we're not putting up with that anymore. But they had been letting anybody walk into that they were running the whole precinct with that little shenanigan. So we shut that thing down. But when there's no Republican in there, they were letting anybody, they were saying, come on and vote, come on and vote, come on. And they don't have any problem with telling anybody to vote Democrat. Like we wouldn't ever utter that the D or R word in as an election worker, because we actually have morals and scruples. But they don't care. They just don't care. In Dallas, southern Dallas County in 2020, we actually had, in a very southern area, we had a nobody in there from the Republican Party. And this guy walks in with 25 driver's licenses and voted every single one of them. So just having a presence in the voting center is you need to start recruiting, training, and giving them the keys to the car to make them successful to where they feel comfortable. And assign these people in their own zip code. More often than not, they live down the street from the elementary school. There are some Republicans in very Democrat districts. We just have to find them. So it's all about just getting in the nitty gritty and getting involved in your county. So if you thank goodness you have a very friendly county chairman now. So that'll allow you to be part of the solution instead of being part of the problem. So we've got so much work to do. We really have so much work to do. Please reach out to all your people. Yes, Cheryl.
Our issue could be totally different.
Absolutely. It depends. Uh-huh.
Looking at the envelope, the Republicans, these signatures don't match. You know, we'll have to talk about that. The Democrat goes, oh, I know him. I've known him since he was, 5 years old. That's him. That's him. No, you can't do that. And it's a real issue.
It's a good old boy issue. Oh, yeah.
So, a totally different issue.
Uh-huh.
But could be
And see, I thank you for that perspective, because we're dealing with mass numbers up in the larger county, but these are the most challenged areas just on a huge scale. And it's very easy to get overwhelmed in just the size and scope. So I kind of think that it's real unusual to have a county with 4 precincts in it. I can't get my head around that. So I think who was it? Edie Sinclair made me change my way of thinking when she told me she had 19 counties in her SD. District 31 has actually 41 counties that they have to. It's all about population instead of. So we have a lot more we have different challenges, but nonetheless, they all have to be addressed. Yes, I think,
In that case, where you have a disagreement, it's my understanding that they have to take it to the head of the ballot board to make the decision of whether it's a match or not. In a Democrat county, you could have a problem. Is that something to be concerned with?
That's what happens now in Harris County. That deciding person belongs to the Democrat.
Oh, it's happening in Harris County, but that's what, but in other counties, everybody has to take it to the next, somebody else to
to re-review, yeah.
Every place that we can possibly send it. So, the other one is just to get over it. They'll argue, they would call him the election administrator, who is a criminal. And she'll say, we'll go with this Republican. We legally have, put that aside and check it. We look at that. But, if we were a Democrat, or if our election administrator was not friendly,
I think that is something we need to be aware of.
Yeah.
Know that one of the things Dan would like to see the legislature do is to require a new signature. After you get to a certain age, they need a new
Well-
signature on a regular basis because our signatures change.
Well, what bothers me are the e-poll books that have this, I mean, it's not a signature, it's a finger wave. And to answer your question about getting a copy of the precinct, we invite so many people to come in and have a copy of the one pager of precinct chair duties just to see if they're interested. They want to know what the job entails. It's more often than not, they're not given a full description of what we ask. It's not a title anymore. It used to be a title. Somebody would say, you are now precinct chair, and tap you on each shoulder and say, you're on your own. That can't happen anymore. We have to have very active precinct chairs who understand the challenges that we're faced with all over this state. Because if you think that the Democrats are not on a mission to flip this state, I've got some Louisiana swamp. We're all going to have to move to Louisiana swampland in order to have a new place to call home, because I don't want to live in Texas if it's Democrat. Do y'all? I really don't. So anyway, I think I've run out of time. So good to see other people that are not on the committee joining us, because you guys can go back to your home districts and carry the message. And see me after the meeting, and we'll talk about that. Yes, sir. I have no idea what you're talking about. Oh, I see. Yeah. Oh. Okay. Oh. See, I learn something every day. So thank you all. I'd like a motion to adjourn. Cheryl, second. Mary Jane, all in favor? We're out of here. Thank you guys so much for approving these manuals and letting us go forward. And I'll be quiet.